Okay, we are live. Tim Blanchip with divorce661.com. This is not the daily perspective. This is your live how to prepare your divorce judgment package. At the end of my 10 to 12-hour workday dealing with clients, in the evenings I get to work on the judgment packages because I need to concentrate. I do a full review. So what happens is when I prepare our clients' final paperwork, their settlement agreement, their judgment package, and it's a court that we need to mail into court. I have to have them obviously print it, sign it, notarize it, and mail it to my office. And you'll see I have a bunch over here to do here. So today we're going to go over 4 judgment packages. They're from different counties. Don't worry about which county they're from because they come from different. Just because they come from different counties doesn't mean that the process is any different. If there are differences with a particular county, I will let you know that. But tonight we're going to do a Santa Clara case judgment, a Contra Costa judgment prep, and 2 Solano judgments. And I love when we have 2 come in at the same time. I think I have about 30 cases to get through judgment wise. So tonight we're going to do 4. That's the goal. And we'll probably go for maybe 2 hours. If you have questions, go ahead and ask. I'll be trying to check the comments here and there. Meanwhile, we'll be going over these judgment packages and I'll be showing you how to prepare them. Again, we're going to be doing Santa Clara, Contra Costa, 2 Solanos. And if you have questions about how to prepare your judgment or anything else, let me know. But I'll be going over, what I'm doing, how I do the review, so you can kind of see what happens when you turn your paperwork in to me, and then I have to process it and get it to the court. And this is why I don't allow my clients, I don't not allow you, but I don't like my clients to try and turn in their own paperwork to the court once I prepared it, because that's where it really gets challenging. So when I get you guys to mail in your judgment packages to me, it lets me get one more review on them, go through it, date things, make sure everything's done properly, and check things out. So the first one we're going to go through is a Santa Clara judgment package. Again, this is paperwork that we've already filed. We've already had the client sign, notarize, and mail in. And so I'm going to be going through this. This is where I have to do my final review and prep and make all the copies. Usually takes me about an hour per 45 minutes-ish. If it depends on how complicated it is, if there's children, if I have to run the spouse support calculations and things like that. So I will, if you guys are listening, those that are there, if you can hear me, let me know. Should be fine. I'm trying to have one light in my eye and one light on the table so you can see what we're doing. So Santa Clara case, first thing I do when you guys mail your documents in is I'll take a look and just make sure everything's here. We have the 180, and of course I can't show you the paperwork because obviously privacy reasons. So this is a Santa Clara case with children. And I'll talk about a little bit of the terms. So we have the 180, the 192. You always need the 192 when there's minor children. I usually attach the 192 to the right behind the 180. And we have the 341 child support, child custody order. It looks like we're doing joint legal, joint physical on this particular case, and reasonable right of visitation. It's very common, and I'll just talk about that, but most of our clients want joint legal and physical custody. Joint legal and physical doesn't mean 50-50. It can, but we have families that have joint legal and physical as the labels, but their timeshare percentage can be like 90-10, 80-20. Something like that. So we got joint legal and physical custody, reasonable right of visitation. That's all you need, by the way. You don't need to have any type of parenting plan. Just mark the label it joint for legal and physical, and mark reasonable right of visitation. And your 4-page 341 child custody order is done. All right, for the child support on this particular case, we're going for reserved jurisdiction. Again, another popular option. People that want the joint legal and physical custody also are asking for reserved jurisdiction. So that's what we're doing here. Don't forget, on the 342, there are 2 mandatory boxes on page 2 as far as the mandatory child support and the additional child support. Most clients, we're just marking 50-50 on those. All right, and then with Santa Clara, again, we're doing 4 cases tonight. So with Santa Clara, they have things, I told you I call it out if it's a little bit different. So with the Santa Clara case, we always use a combination of the forms. So the 341, 342 in this case, and then the judgment attachment marital settlement agreement. the actual narrative. So it's kind of a combination of all. So we have, again, this is a Santa Clara case with joint legal and physical custody, reserved jurisdiction. There's a long-term marriage, and they're going to waive spousal support. And so there's a specific language that goes in there for that, and we'll take care of that. So just making sure that everything is here. This has been notarized. Now, while it's true that you only the respondent who has not filed a response in a default with written agreement case, as this is, while normally it only is the respondent that needs the notary, in this case, whenever there's something that's different or goes against the grain, I always have, in fact, I have both parties in all cases notarize their paperwork, just because it lets the court know that that actually is the person signing the paperwork. I think it helps the court approve it, not because they don't think it's them, but they just says, okay, well, they went to the trouble of getting this notarized. This must be them. And because in this case, it's a long-term marriage and we are terminating spousal support. And the other thing is we're reserving jurisdiction on child support. I specifically had them both notarized. So this is all in order. Where's my pen? Okay. See if I can do this with microphone in my face. So Santa Clara, this was the case. So this is one thing that Santa Clara does differently, is on the 180, where you are listing the date marital status ends on at the very top in the caption section, and then in number 4, the court actually wants you to do one of two things. You're going to either write in the date what the 6 months and a day is, and put those dates in there and on the 190. But if it's after your 6 months have passed and you're turning in your judgment, then you're going to write date judgment filed. So in this case, we had filed a response, which we don't normally do, but there's specific circumstances we wanted to do this in this case. So let me pull up their file. I just need to change a couple things on their 180 and 190 because we now have a response filed, and I need to plug those dates in as far as a jurisdiction date. And then I need to add the 6-month date. If you're looking for a way to figure out the 6 months and a day way of doing that, I use an app called timeanddate.com, and it allows you to count days, add days, so you can punch in a date. It's like in this case, I have to see when the response was filed. I just got to pull up their file. Okay, filed response. Because when we submit them by e-file or mail file to the court, we don't know when that actual date will be. So this was filed 3/28, so we can punch in 3. It was appeared on 3/28. Yeah. And also, if you have a response filed, you don't have to wait the 31 days after the date of filing. So in this case, even though it was filed just a few days ago and the response filed right behind it, we can actually submit this case for review and approval immediately, which gets it in line probably 25 days sooner than every other case, especially for these courts like Santa Clara that are taking a very long time to process their cases. So we have a response date of 3/28/24, and now I just need to do my time and date calculator. So we're going to add 6 months and a day from 3/28. Oops. And you can plug in 6 months and a day, and that gives us September 29th, 2024. Let me make sure I did that. So 3/28/24 and 6 months and a day. So this is how I can tell you what your official divorce date will be from the very beginning once we have the initial filed case. Like this case, we're going to turn this in tomorrow to court at Santa Clara, and it's going to get in line for review, and they take about 3 months for review and approval. And so this case will probably be approved around July, but it's going to have and their final divorce date will actually be, what I say, September 29th, 2024. So let me say that here. September 24th. Oh, yep, where am I at? September 29th. 9/29 24. I'm having decaf coffee because I want to be able to sleep tonight. What are you guys drinking? Let me know. Would have been wine normally, but I'm on a no alcohol kick. Are we getting a little blurry here? There we go. All right. So we got 9/29/24. So we're going to plug this into, remember, this is Santa Clara only. We're not doing this for any other court. We're leaving it blank. 9/29/24. Finalize 9/29/24. Everything else looks good. And if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and ask your questions in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them. All right, so we have that complete. Because we didn't have this information when they mailed in their paperwork. That and this. Sorry, my printer's about 10 years old, so I'm thinking a mouse got stuck in there or something. So we're just going to swap out these two forms. All right. All right, this all looks good. Most of the courts want the pages numbered, so it's not going to hurt to do it. Some courts don't require it. Some do. Once I have the final paperwork in office, I'll go ahead and just write them in because we're using a combination of forms and marital settlement agreement. I want to print that up. Because we're using a combination of forms and I'm going to have to go in there and do that. Because we're using a combination of forms and the settlement agreement, I can't put the numbers on the pages until I get it back in office, and I have to do that by hand. Just making a change to one of the forms here. It comes in handy having the whole PDF editor. And we're going to print this page. One tip for you, when you're printing your paperwork, it's page 2, print single-sided when you're doing your judgment. I'll have clients mail me their judgment, and they will have printed double-sided, and the back of one form or the front of one form will be on the last page of another form. And it really, really messes things up when you do it that way. So single-sided only when you're doing your judgment. All right, we got the reserve jurisdiction on the child support, joint legal and physical, no spouse support on a long-term marriage. Need to have that waiver language in there. Got the notary. Okay, that looks good. Now I need to check the dates on the other forms based off the date of service, because you don't want documents signed. You don't want to sign documents. Why are we all blurry here? You don't want to sign documents. There we go. Before the jurisdiction date, which would be the date of service. So because we get our cases done so quickly, I have to let the clients know how to date the form sequentially from the file date, because like the requesting our default can't be filed for 31 days after. So if that's dated incorrectly, then that'll kind of mess everything up. So now I'm going to go through the rest of the procedural documents and make sure all the dates are correct on the forms, and gives me another chance for one more review before I mail it into court. Usually clients will miss a date here and there. That's why I like to get my hands on this one more time and do a final review, make sure all the boxes are checked, maybe make sure I didn't make a mistake. I don't know what's going on with there we go. Okay, I think we're good to go. All right. So now that I've received the judgment that the client has mailed in, this is the part where, again, I get my hands on it one more time, get to review everything, check things, and then we get to make 1,000 copies. This is one reason why I wouldn't recommend you doing your own divorce. Not only do you have to do the paperwork, do the filings, do the serving, go to court, miss work, do all that good stuff. Once you get it all prepped and signed and notarized, again, this takes me a solid 45 minutes to do. So it's going to take you a lot. We have to do the copies, do the stapling. I'm going to watch, so I can stay here and answer your questions if you guys do have questions about the divorce process in California. But I'll be doing this in the meantime, so you can see what it takes to get a divorce actually finalized after you have everything signed and prepped, and hopefully you've did that part correct as well. So like I said, we're going to get through 4 cases tonight. All right, we got that scanned. I like to scan it into the client file so I have their signed copy, just in case something goes missing. Once in a while, the courts will lose a file, which is never bueno. And guaranteed, one thing you won't have, most of you, a 2-hole punch. You got a 2-hole punch your paperwork, or the court will reject your judgment. Yeah, that's a real thing. Trust me. I used to work there. It's how I know. All right. For anyone watching, I see a couple people on. If you guys have questions about divorce process, I'm just doing some judgments here, and be happy to answer them. I can screen share if I need to jump on. But meanwhile, this is what I do after we kind of close for the day and get the client's cases finalized. All right. Just going to save what I scanned into the client's file. And then we can start making our copies. I almost said copies. Signed judgment package. Okay, now we got it in the system here. Now I submit my paperwork a certain way to the courts. I always start with the proof of service, then the 141s, then the 165 requesting our default, then the judgment, then the judgment package, and then the settlement agreement rather, and then the 170 and the 144. So that's kind of the order I submit them in. So hopefully the printer's not too loud tonight. Remember, you got to make, I always make 4. I mean, some courts are different. Some, like Ventura, wants 2, some want 3, some want 4. So some of the crankier courts like Santa Clara that does everything different, I'm going to give them original and 3 copies of everything. So I'm going to sit here and make 3 copies of the original, one by one, each page. So you don't want to just do 4 full copies or 3 full copies and copy the whole thing in one shot? Do you want to do, make 3 copies of the 190 and then 3 copies of the judgment package? Huh. And as I told you, I'm supposed to write the page numbers on here. Because I'm talking, I didn't do that. When you're doing your settlement agreement that starts with the 180, do not. The way the courts want it is even though the 180 says page 1, page 2, I've used to write it where the next page would be page 3. They don't like that because they want it to know how many pages follow and they want that to match up. So let me get into doing this real quick and hopefully I don't misnumber these. Feel free to ask your questions now if you're on the live stream. If you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and get your comments in and I will go back in and answer those for you. All right. Okay. It's like we have 14 pages. So 14-page settlement agreement. And make sure you put your number of pages on your 180. Okay. So exciting stuff. I know it. Rescanning the judgment. It's because of the camera. Oh, there we go. So I have to work with the light in my eye the whole time. All right, going to make 3 copies of the judgment. And this part can be, even though the original should be single-sided, you can do double-sided on the 3 copies, plus they'll save you a bunch of paper. I make 1 copy at a time because my printer copier, which is a good one, it's a commercial one, but I have had it for about 10 years. So it's a little squeaky, a little cranky, and it jams a lot. Sounded like that went well. Then the way you stack your forms is you have your original, and then like this is the 180 and the settlement agreement, the 16 pages. You're going to stack your forms right behind that. And we'll make okay, 1 more copy. Again, always have original and 3 copies of most forms for most courts is what I recommend. The 141 and the 141 and the 141 only needs really 1 copy, if any. It's really fun working around the microphone. So as you can see, we're 30 minutes into this, and I'm about 80% done. It's just these copies and all this that really take time. Then we got to make the envelopes, put the postage on, all that good stuff. And then we'll get into our next one. don't know why we're blurry today. There you go. Right, because I keep moving around. Why does it like me today? Okay, we've printed the entire judgment. Get 3 copies of everything. And that copy did not come out right. And that's what you got to be careful of. If you have a misprint, you got to double check all your copies. And that's what happens. All right. So that is how you prep a judgment. I think I'll end off there. I was going to do 4 with you tonight, but we're having some technical difficulty with the camera and with the lights. So see you on the next live stream. I'll try and do this more often. Hope all's well. And give us a call if you looking to have someone take over a divorce. Be happy to help you anywhere in California as long as you're amicable. I can handle your divorce case. Have a great day.